I'm joined today by Alex McNaughten. Alex is the CEO and founder of Strategic Sales Consulting. They help early to mid-stage companies to develop efficient, effective, and resilient sales operations. So Alex, really good to have you here today. You've come out with a guide which is pretty timely into the market, which is successfully selling in a down market. But before we jump into that, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about kind of what you do and who you guys help?
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Matt. Thanks for that intro. So look, my background's in sales in the technology industry, and throughout my career journey, I guess I noticed that how Kiwi companies were approaching selling and their sales operations was not as good as the American companies I worked for. Mm-hmm. And that kind of was the genesis moment for my business. Initially did some research to see if it was just my bad luck and they were just the companies I'd worked at, or whether, this was a wider problem, and found that it was. And, these days I help typically early to mid-stage technology companies, has been where I've been focused for the last year and a half, and helping them really reduce their cost of selling, increase their success and conversion rates when selling, and just build really effective and resilient sales operations, which is pretty timely given the current market. And I don't know about you, Matt, but I've been seeing some pretty terrible marketing and sales approaches and messaging over the last few weeks, and a little bit tone deaf. So I think that's something. It's kind of why I put out the guide the other week.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's challenging, right, for I think a lot of businesses, especially maybe technology companies in that early to mid stage, because it's been so long since we've been through like a down market, I think, is a starting point, right? And so maybe there's a lot of these operators that just have never had to deal with things when it's difficult, or where there's other distractions or other events going on that you kind of need to acknowledge. And other things perhaps that your prospects or your customers are thinking about that aren't kind of business as usual. And so, yeah, there's certainly some challenges out there. And I think the job that you've done putting this guide together was really good. So, yeah, really want to just get you on and have a chat about that. So looking through it, you've kind of outlined there's 5 key areas that people should be thinking about at the moment in order to, as you've said, not kind of make a dog's breakfast of the sales and marketing that you're trying to conduct at the moment. And the first one was kind of to assess what's going on. And so you just want to talk us through that. So is that like assessing what's going on both in their business and in the wider market and with competitors? Just talk us through what you think people should be taking stock of currently.
Yeah. So that's really around how they're treating, how, you as a business owner or salesperson are treating that customer-facing interaction. And I'll just actually bring it back a little bit before diving into that assess piece, because It's actually, we're all thinking the same. We're all thinking and acting very similarly right now as people, whether you're a business owner, an executive, or just, a business professional. We're all kind of doing 3 or 4 things. We're all trying to reduce our discretionary spending. We're all looking for ways to cut costs. What can we stop paying for? What don't we need right now? Then we're also looking at how can we reduce the cost on our essential items. So when you're going to the supermarket, you're probably just buying the home brand milk or home brand toilet paper rather than the more premium brands, and making your dollars go further. And then businesses are looking at how they can reduce their potential downside risk. And they're doing that with a focus on the short term, but also thinking, actually, how is this going to impact my business going forward as well? So I think it's really important that, knowing that we're all thinking the same things pretty much, that the approach to messaging needs to be refined to take that into account. So, coming to that first step of assess your message, there's kind of 4 things that are really crucial right now that I'd like you to consider. Firstly, is what language you're using to describe your product or service. Is it Are you describing it as a nice to have, or is this a must have? Is this something you still need? What elements of your offering could be considered must haves, if any? And then, finally, are you priced as a premium offering? Or are there other suppliers out there offering similar products or services to you at a lower price point? So how affordable are you in that market?
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And so is the advice there then to obviously double down on areas or markets where you're seen as, a must have, right? And then are you recommending to clients to kind of lower pricing or not lose deals on pricing at this point? Or is it kind of case by case basis? Or what's your view on that in the current environment?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think a nice way to look at this is, right now, if you're off to go buy a car and you're trying to get from A to B, are you going to go out and buy a Toyota, or are you going to spend, double, triple the money on a BMW? Mm-hmm. Chances are right now you're going to get the Toyota. So if you have an offering in the market right now that does exactly the same thing or very similar to what other people do, but your pricing is 2-3 times more expensive, you're probably going to have to reevaluate that pricing structure, certainly in the short term, because otherwise your business is just going to swing to competitors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think you could probably get creative in the way that you do that, right? So if you need to reduce your price, maybe you position it as, this is a, emergency relief package for people that we're trying to work with, or here's an introductory offer to help you guys get through this tough time. So you're not kind of signaling to the market that you're chasing everyone down to the bottom, but maybe you use that as a bit of a signal to say, here, we're here to help. We've cut our prices by X as well.
That's right. That's right. And, I like how you frame that. I think that's the way to do it, because at the same token, you don't want to be, as you said, signaling that you're, dropping your pants, so to speak.
Yeah.
The way you do that should be considered and should really come from a place of wanting to help. I think that's really crucial right now, is that, I keep getting asked the question is, should I still be selling right now? Salespeople have been asking me this, should I still be selling in the current environment? And my response to that's pretty simple. If you have something that helps people, you should be getting in front of them. Your approach just needs to change. And I think that all kind of ties in with everything should be coming from a really good, helpful place right now, and including how you're pricing.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I think it's just acknowledge what's going on, right? Like, you can continue to sell as a salesperson, but you just have to acknowledge what's happening. And that can be as simple as like making sure that, let's say we've done some revisions of kind of scripts this week, looking at how we're approaching things from a cold calling point of view. And a simple change we made was we changed one line in our cold call script, and we've seen the results from last week to this week kind of improve significantly. The only change is, look, I know this is probably not, something that you want to discuss right now with everything going on. That's it. We put that in front of our introduction, and then it flows on as normal. Can I get 27 seconds to explain why I'm calling, and you can tell me if it's appropriate or not? That's it. Just acknowledge, a little bit of acknowledgement up the front, right? I know this may not be the best time, right, due to everything that's happening. Like, I'm aware that there's a pandemic spreading around the earth, but at the same time, there's an acknowledgement that you're probably still conducting business. We're still conducting business. Can we have a conversation about that?
That's right. Exactly. No, that's spot on. So look, from there, you firstly take a look at your messaging and look how you are speaking to the market. I think the next point from there is, okay, what can I do to amplify my messaging right now in a way that's actually going to be successful? So, the first thing, one of the first things I'd be looking to do is stop talking about growth. Don't talk about, future opportunities. Don't talk about, 5-year timelines. And don't use any language that signals a nice to have. Right now, things need to be short term, and they should be focused on things like cost reduction, mitigating risk, business continuity, extending runways, all of that sort of language and messaging right now is going to be way more powerful than going out there and saying, I can double or triple your revenue in the next month. Because the reality is, in this market, if you're saying that, you're probably lying.
It's going to be pretty easy to sniff out, right?
I think that's crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so, and again, this goes back to like, fundamentals, and you're hitting the nail on the head, which is like, so what are your customers' priorities right now? And how does your product or your solution apply to that? And so we know that the prospect's priorities or your customers' priorities right now are all of those things you just mentioned, right? Risk mitigation, cost reduction, all of the things you mentioned up front. Yeah, that's perfect. So what do we need to do? Like Sales 101, align messaging to what our prospects are thinking about, and we're in a good position. Love that. That's a really good tip.
Exactly. So I think it's that simple, really, is just look at the messaging and then change it. And I think I can't stress this one enough. Think about, your time frames that you're talking to people about right now need to be shortened.
Good point.
You need to be thinking about, a month, 2 months, 3 months, not 1 year, 2 years, 3 years out from now. Because right now, everyone has dropped their time frame in terms of what they're thinking about. And they're thinking about, how can I continue providing for my family over the next 3 months? How can I keep the lights on in the next 3 months? So it's a very different conversation.
Yeah, that's really good. Really good point. Okay, cool. Third point.
Be understanding. And you touched on this. And that is all about just acknowledging what's going on. Let's not bury our heads in the sand and pretend that, March is the same as February, because it's not. So a few things to think about here. I love your point and how you've changed your sales script a little bit for those cold calls, in terms of just acknowledging that this might not be a very good time to have this conversation. And acknowledging that things in their world might, your customers and prospects' world may have been turned upside down. So, and a lot of people weren't prepared for this. I think that's really important. I wasn't prepared. You probably weren't prepared. I don't think anyone was truly prepared for how quickly this is going to impact, a business. So in terms of messaging, try and not have language and messaging around you in terms of don't use words like I, me, I want to grab 5 minutes of your time. Instead, focus messaging on your client, on your prospects, to the people you're actually talking to. Acknowledge what's going on in their world, ask them what's going on in their world, and try and be more empathetic with your approach. I think one of the other things that's really crucial to think about right now is that deals you thought that were going to sign may now not. Things that you thought were green light may actually now be completely reevaluated. So be prepared for a change in tone. Be prepared for that call you thought was going to be around signing the deal on the dotted line. Be prepared that's actually now we're going to think about this and maybe reevaluate in a month or 2 months. So be understanding there, and look for ways to be accommodating. So whether you use creative payment terms or rejig an offer to do so, but also be respectful. If someone says to you, actually, hey Matt, I want to come back to you in a month because right now I've got too much on, be respectful of that and say, and then just gently say, okay, that's great. I'll follow up with you in a month. Or let's put a time in the diary in a month to circle back. And, I'd love to get your take on that, but that's I think how I'm approaching those kind of situations right now.
Yeah, well, I think, you touched on something, which is that no one expected this. I can remember having a conversation, distinctly remember having a conversation with my wife, and I don't know the date, but it would have been early March, right? And she said to me, is this coronavirus thing going to impact your business? So no, probably not. Maybe there's a couple of clients that it might impact, but we'll be fine. 3 weeks later, and sorry, to add to that, the share of, I suppose, mental energy that I was dedicating to thinking about coronavirus was literally maybe 1 or 2%. 3 weeks later, that shifted to 80. right? And this week, it's almost all I think about is the business impact for us and our clients of coronavirus currently, and how we're going to kind of manage
Yeah.
through that process. And so, yeah, if you're a salesperson and you're not thinking about that at all because you're just turning up to work and it is business as usual for you, but you're just working from home, if you don't get, if you're selling to business owners, you don't understand kind of the massive swing that's taken place over the last 3 or 4 weeks, you're really going to struggle. So you're really going to have to get that understanding
Mm.
quickly, because yeah, it's been pretty swift, I guess, is the point. Yeah, so definitely
Oh,
understand.
look, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's we saw the signs, I think, but I don't think anyone quite expected it to happen that fast and that bad.
yeah,
But I think it's also important to remember and to put it in perspective that, take the coronavirus out of the situation. A downturn was coming. And it was, whether it was going to be this year, next year, or in 2022, it was on the way, and it is natural and it is cyclical. So, okay, we're going through a down right now, and there will be some pain, but there'll be another up. So it is important to remember that
100%.
and not get caught up in negativity.
Yeah, find a way. You got to find a way. I think this leads on to maybe one of your other points, but you just have to find a way to get through this period because this will pass, right? Like this is a temporary event that you need to manage. You need to manage it well, but it's going, and
Yep.
then we'll be up on an upswing again. And if you can be positioned to capitalize on that, you're gonna, you know, you're gonna do well. So yeah, okay. Next point.
Cool. And actually, just before, one last point on Be
Sure.
Understanding is show some extra love to your clients right now. As a human, you want to empathize and check in with them and make sure that they're all right. But then also as a business owner or as a salesperson or account manager, you want to reduce churn as much as possible.
Yeah.
So definitely show some love, reach out, check in, and make sure that people aren't going to be great right now, but at least show them that love and show them that you care.
Yeah. That's a great point. Like over communicate with all of your clients at this point. But that's what you need to do. You
Yeah.
need to you need to stay top of mind. You need to show them, you need to over communicate what you're doing to help them through this, and how, and potentially if your business is in a position to help, like how you could potentially help lead them through this, right, in your
Yep.
little specific way. And if you can do that, yeah, that's again, you're going to be really well positioned to come through the other side. But yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah. So look, the next piece here is about making it easy. So the buying journey has changed for a lot of companies right now. A lot of business in New Zealand is done over coffee and lunch. And that has changed, as of today, we are all in lockdown. So no more coffees and lunch meetings. So you need to make it easy for people to buy from you right now, particularly taking into account the fact that everyone is working from home. So I touched on the messaging side, but I think in terms of how you actually approach the selling, you need to be really careful around how you position your product, your service, your messaging, what stands you apart, and having, easily accessible case studies and references. I think that's going to really help because you're not going to have that same kind of trusted in-person connection that you might have had previously. So you need to think of ways how you can offset that with whether it's sales enablement material, more touch points, whatever that could be. And then the final thing here is make it easy to buy from you. Reduce barriers. If you've got legal contracts or terms and conditions that are 3, 5, 10 pages long that are going to slow down your sale, really take a close, hard look at that. You do not want to be, time's of the essence right now, and you don't want any deals that you're working on to be caught up in red lines for the next month. So really do what you can to reduce the friction in your sale, and then make negotiating simple. Have easy to understand pricing, and be open and honest about how you price, how you discount, and that's all going to help make it easy for people to buy from you and get access to your help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I think if they're looking to move, and this is, whether it's looking to move in terms of making a purchase with you, or if they're looking to kind of re-sign an existing agreement, again, and this is really good because all of these points that you're bringing up interrelate, but this probably is one of many priorities that they also need to deal with. So if they can get a quick win and tick that off the list and get that done because you've made it easy for them, right? Then that's something that that they're going to appreciate. Yes, 100%. Cool. All right, and then your last one, which is great, is be positive.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's happening.
This one's a hard one. And look, I personally went through this, when this all started going down really badly in New Zealand, over the last, 14 days or so. I personally struggle with this because, it is very easy to get caught up in the negativity and think, and get caught up in thoughts like, oh my goodness, this is going to impact my business, my livelihood. But the way I look at it, there's two ways you can look at this situation. You can panic, you can bury your head in the sand and hope it all goes away and hope that we wake up in a month's time and everything's roses. Or you can, be decisive, make some changes and look for opportunities, and try as much as possible to lead and not just follow.
Yeah.
And look, people will be drawn to that if you're positive. Confidence isn't, what's it called? The coronavirus isn't the only thing that's infectious. Confidence is also infectious. So, try and stay in a positive, confident, state of mind because others will feel that. And, like I mentioned earlier, it's not forever. Yes, we will feel effects for, months or maybe longer. But, firstly, the virus is being contained in countries, and they're seeing already, countries like Japan and Hong Kong and so on, starting to get better fairly quickly. So I think, that you've got to look at the positive in every situation. And then also remember that some of the most successful companies in the world, and most innovative companies in the world were created in downturns and have survived downturns. So a lot of innovation comes out of periods of uncertainty like this. So let's try and take that all into consideration and at least, if nothing else, not be negative.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because it's one way to. I had this conversation with someone the other day, like, man, why is your outlook on it so positive? And the my response to that, well, what's the alternative? What's the benefit of like just dwelling on this and going, oh man, this really sucks? Like that. There's no upside to that. So, and I know it can be hard, but you've got to try to look for the silver linings. If deals fall through and you've got more time on your hands, right? Spend some more time creating content. If you can't do things that you would, if you lose existing customers and so your time spent servicing them is reduced, that gives you more time to go out and prospect, right? Kind of look at this as an opportunity to go, look, what's happening in my business? Where can I make some gains? How do I do everything I can to hold on and lead my existing customers? But yeah, I mean, you've got to approach it with, an abundance or a growth or a positive mindset, however you want to frame it. Because the alternative is you won't get through it, and so if you just have to. There's no other option, right? Approach it with positivity. Try to look for the silver linings and everything. And I think that's probably, whilst it was the last tip, is probably the most important thing anyone could do when trying to kind of manage through any kind of downturn. Is just try to approach it that way.
Yeah, and there's some other benefits too, right? There's more time at home with family, with partners. So, I think that's also important to consider and think about, and just try and enjoy that as much as you can with everything else going on too.
Yep, 100%. All right, man. Well, unless you've got any final words, I think that's a good place to finish it up. But anything else?
No, that's perfect. It's been awesome to chat with you today.
Cool. Cheers, Alex. Have a good one, mate.